In 2002, Rockstar Games released Grand Theft Auto: Vice City, a game that did more than continue a successful franchise. It turned an open-world crime game into a full-blown time machine. Set in a fictional version of Miami during 1986, Vice City mixed neon streets, pastel suits, speedboats, sports cars, pop music, and organized crime into one of the most memorable worlds of the PlayStation 2 era. It followed Grand Theft Auto 3, which had already changed expectations for open-world games, but Vice City gave that formula a stronger identity. Instead of simply offering a city full of missions, it offered a mood, a decade, and a fantasy of rising from small-time criminal to feared crime boss. The game was developed by Rockstar North and published by Rockstar Games as the fourth main entry in the Grand Theft Auto series, and the sixth entry overall. Its timing was important. Grand Theft Auto 3 had launched in 2001 and proved that a 3D urban sandbox could become a cultural event. Vice City arrived only a year later, but it did not feel like a simple expansion. Rockstar took the structure of GTA 3 and sharpened it with a clearer theme, a more colorful environment, and a story that leaned heavily into cinematic crime drama. The result was a sequel that felt familiar in its controls and freedom, but far more confident in its presentation. At the center of Vice City is Tommy Vercetti, a gangster recently released from prison after serving a long sentence. Tommy is sent south to Vice City by his old criminal associates, but almost immediately, a drug deal goes wrong. The deal is ambushed, the money and drugs disappear, and Tommy is left responsible for a disaster he did not fully control. This setup gives the story a strong engine. Tommy needs answers, but he also needs power. As he searches for the people behind the ambush, he begins making connections across the city, working with criminals, businessmen, gangs, and corrupt figures who all want something from him. What makes Tommy's story effective is that it is not just about revenge. It is about transformation. At the beginning, he is an outsider trying to survive in a city that sees him as useful but disposable. Over time, he learns the local power structure and begins to take pieces of it for himself. He does jobs, builds alliances, buys properties, and eventually creates his own criminal empire. This rise to power structure separates Vice City from a simple mission-based crime story. The city becomes a board game of influence, where nightclubs, businesses, and criminal operations represent Tommy's growing control. The player is not just completing tasks, they are watching a character seize a city. Vice City itself is one of the game's most important characters. The fictional city is based on Miami, and it is divided mainly across two large islands, giving players room to move through beaches, downtown streets, mansions, nightlife districts, industrial zones, and palm-lined roads. The open-world design allows players to navigate on foot or by vehicle, whether driving cars, riding motorcycles, piloting boats, or later using aircraft. The city is not massive by modern standards, but it is carefully themed. Its colors, architecture, weather, music, and street layout all work together to sell the illusion of a hot, stylish, dangerous 1980s coastal playground. Rockstar's biggest creative move was choosing 1986 as the setting. That decision shaped almost every part of the game. The 1980s allowed the developers to draw from a period associated with excess, flashy consumer culture, drug trafficking, celebrity, organized crime, and a very specific visual style. The cars look boxy and loud, the fashion is bright and theatrical, and the city feels soaked in neon and ambition. The soundtrack became central to the experience, because driving through Vice City while era-appropriate music plays on the radio made the world feel alive. For many players, the licensed music was not background noise, it was part of the game's identity. The game's inspirations are easy to recognize, but Vice City does not copy one source directly. It draws heavily from films and television of the era, especially Scarface and Miami Vice. From Scarface, it borrows the fantasy of a criminal outsider building a drug empire in a sun-drenched city filled with wealth and violence. From Miami Vice, it takes the atmosphere of stylish cops, fast cars, nighttime streets, and pastel crime drama. The developers also looked at real-world Miami history, including tensions involving Cuban and Haitian communities, biker gangs, the crack epidemic, and the influence of drug lords. These influences gave the setting a sense of cultural texture, even when filtered through satire and exaggeration. Gameplay in Vice City follows the third-person action-adventure format that Grand Theft Auto 3 popularized. Players accept missions from different characters, drive across the city, engage in shootouts, steal vehicles, evade police, and explore freely between objectives. But Vice City added variety and personality through its mission design and side activities. The game encouraged players to use the city as a playground, whether they were following the main plot, buying assets, discovering hidden collectibles, or simply experimenting with the systems. The appeal came from freedom. A player could chase the story for an hour, then get distracted by a radio song, a police chase, a motorcycle jump, or a vehicle they had never driven before. The property and asset system was especially important because it connected gameplay to the story's theme. As Tommy gains money and influence, he can acquire businesses that generate income and unlock missions. This makes his rise feel more tangible than a cutscene-only transformation. A nightclub, a film studio, or other business is not just scenery, it becomes a symbol of control. The player participates in the process of turning Tommy from hired muscle into the person others fear and depend on. That loop of earning money, buying assets, completing related missions, and expanding power helped give Vice City a stronger sense of progression than many open-world games of its time. When Vice City released for the PlayStation 2 in October 2002, it received critical acclaim. Reviewers praised its music, gameplay, story, atmosphere, and open-world design. The game felt larger than its map because its style was so consistent and memorable. It also arrived at a moment when console gaming was rapidly expanding in cultural influence, and Vice City became one of the defining titles of that generation. For many players, it represented the promise of open-world design, a game where the main story mattered, but the unscripted moments could be just as entertaining. It was violent, stylish, funny, chaotic, and unusually immersive for its time. The game was also controversial. Like other Grand Theft Auto titles, Vice City drew criticism for its violence and criminal subject matter. More specifically, it faced controversy over its depiction of racial and ethnic groups, particularly in relation to the game's fictionalized gang conflicts. These criticisms became part of a broader debate about video games, satire, representation, and the responsibilities of developers when using real-world cultural references. Vice City was designed as an exaggerated crime fantasy, but its use of communities inspired by real Miami history made some players and critics question where parody ended and harmful stereotyping began. That tension remains part of how the game is remembered. Commercially, Vice City was enormous. It became the best-selling game of 2002 and one of the best-selling PlayStation 2 games ever, with more than 14.2 million copies sold on that platform and over 17.5 million copies sold overall. Its success showed that Grand Theft Auto was not a one-time breakthrough after GTA 3, but a dominant entertainment franchise. The game later came to Windows and Xbox in 2003, followed by enhanced versions and mobile ports in the 2010s. In 2021, it was included in a remastered release, introducing it to another wave of players, even as debates continued over how best to preserve and update classic games. Vice City's legacy is bigger than nostalgia. It helped prove that an open-world game could be built around a strong sense of place, time, and cultural identity. Its follow-up, Grand Theft Auto: San Andreas, would expand the scale dramatically in 2004, while Vice City Stories later returned to the setting as a prequel in 2006. But Vice City remains distinct because of its focus. It is not the biggest Grand Theft Auto, and it is not the most modern, but it may be one of the most immediately recognizable. Its neon Miami-inspired world, 1980s soundtrack, and Crime Empire storyline turned it into a landmark of sixth-generation gaming and one of Rockstar's most enduring creations. If you found this helpful, please like this video and subscribe for more explainers.